country, just like on my TV. I'll get a cowboy shirt, I'll make the bad guys hurt. Gonna see them tumbleweeds blow. I'll get a Gretsch guitar, be a cowboy star. Yeah, to the country I'll go. I'll get a Western Stetson 445. My horse will be my best friend. I'll get them cowboy boots, I'll be a Rudy Toot-a-Loot when I go back to that country again. That's where I wanna go. Going to cowboy country, gonna see a rodeo. I'm gonna ride the rope, hardly use soap. Gonna take a bath once a week, ride a bronc, romp and stomp. Yeah, that's the country I see. I'll get a Western Stetson 445. A horse will be my best friend. I'll get them cowboy boots and be a Rudy Toot-a-Loot when I go back to that country again. Gonna meet me a cowgirl. Going to cowboy country, she'll be the best in the world. We'll do a cowboy dance, have a country romance. Gonna ride into the west, we'll ride under the stars, play our guitars. Yeah, country love is the best. I'll get that Western Stetson Colt 45. A horse will be my best friend. I'll get them cowboy boots, be a Rudy Toot-a-Loot when I go back to that country again.
I'm on the run, saying goodbye to this town. Finally moving on. I've got the strength to do what I want. I finally did it, I'm finally free. Through the fields of Oklahoma, the red rock hills of Arizona, this hometown girl just needs to get away.
know your story, don't even have my own. In the search for glory, gone with them sacred rules of old. They went missing down Highway 49. Devil's at the crossroads, sitting doing time. Preacher man discovered, passed down from saint to sage, like a kind-hearted lover who's been lost on this stage. Went missing down Highway 49. Devil's at the crossroads, sitting doing time. Crossroads, sitting doing time. Junkie and the jigger just seen who done the crime. Captain pulled the trigger, guess who's doing time? They went missing down Highway 49. Devil's at the crossroads, is he yours or is he mine?
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be hiding out there on the globe today. Welcome to the Saturday evening wrap-up of the WP Plugins A to Z podcast, coming to you directly from the brewery overlooking beautiful, snowy Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. And I'm John Overall. So, what we got here for you today, just the usual wrap-up. I missed last week, but sometimes that happens, you know. Maybe occasionally I got a date on Saturday nights. Yeah, like that ever occurs. But seriously, we've got some really interesting news and tidbits here. We're going to be discussing some plugins that got security flaws. We're going to be talking about setting up security for your WordPress API. We're going to talk a little bit about an interesting look at how WordPress became the most popular CMS system out there, new RSS in Amazon Kindle blocks for Gutenberg, and so much more. So welcome to the Saturday evening show, and let's get this show on the road.
WordPress. It's the most popular content management and website solution on the internet. And with over 80,000 plugins to choose from, how do you separate the junk from the gems? Join us for a weekly, unrehearsed conversation about the latest and greatest in WordPress plugins. This is WordPress Plugins from A to Z.
There we go. All right, so what do we got this week here for you to take a gander at and see what's up with the world of WordPress and the community around it? Well, let's jump right into the first article here. This is an interesting article here on how you can deal with paid content on your WordPress website. And paid content is something that comes along every once in a while. You know, you might have some on your site. Maybe you've got a client that runs a newspaper site and you're looking for ways to monetize and get people to actually pay for that content. Because let's face it, the golden days of advertising money on the internet are long gone. So if you're just arriving to the scene, you will realize that advertising no longer pays the bills. It used to pay pretty well. I remember the days when I used to collect several $100 a week in advertising revenues, but now it's pennies. Pennies, I tell you. At any rate, this article here is a nice discussion of a WordPress plugin that is called LaterPay. LaterPay is a plugin that allows you to set up a paywall that's kind of a glass paywall, and it touches on the value for value model and how they do it. People can gain access to your content without actually sticking out the money, and then you can bill them and they come in and pay their bill, hopefully. According to the article here, they've got an 80% payment rate, which is pretty good, pretty good. You know, that's actually pretty decent. 85% actually paid their invoices that are sent out via this. There's lots of ways it can be used. It's a great way, in my opinion, to monetize your content, especially if it's a lot of text and news and pieces of information that you feel people would pay for if they could find a way to justify it and make it easy. The biggest thing, and I've always said this since the beginning, is if you make it easy for people to pay, they will more than willingly pay if they feel the content is valuable. Now, I keep saying that about my show in the hopes that people will continue to pay and support me, but not nearly as much as I'd hoped. But this is an interesting article that you'll want to check out, and it might be a plugin that you or your clients could dig themselves into and have a good look at. So go check it out. This is kind of nice. I'll be reviewing this one for the regular WP Plugins A to Z show. Now I've got next thing up here, got an old but useful article. Now, this article here is a fairly old one on how to deal with the fatal error out of memory. Now, this still happens. I don't care who you are, what you're doing. Sooner or later, you're going to load something up to your WordPress website, or you're going to be on a hosting provider that limits your RAM, etc., etc. This is a great article to give you the little simple steps to go in there and set it. Now, something I learned, and this is something I was dealing with when I was working through my local dev environments. I don't know how many people use, what's it called again? It's the desktop server. And I use desktop server for local environment. And every once in a while, I'll load it up, and for some reason, it'll just be out of memory. And I've never figured it out. And one of the things I found in this article here, which I hadn't dealt with before, is you can add a line to your htaccess file called rlimitmem, and then you set it at max. And by doing that, this actually freed up the memory I needed to run it on my local system. I was really quite impressed with how just that one line changed everything. And this may actually work on a higher end or on a server online. So something you may want to dig into and look at. So anyway, go check out this article. It is very useful, and it could be of a lot of help to you.
My brother was wondering if you could add him to this.
Now we've got another one here for you. This next article here is dealing with a vulnerability in a plugin. This is the Payment Forms plugin, and it is a vulnerability in the Payment Forms plugin. And what is the commercial plugin? It's called WP Cost Estimation and Payment Forms Builder. This is a premium plugin, and developers had patched this plugin months ago without publicly announcing it. And a different vulnerability was discovered by researchers. And then they notified the developers, and it's been taken care of. But if you use this plugin, make sure you are getting yourself up to date with it. Another article added to it is there's hackers have sold or selling 730 million. That's million user records stolen from companies, and they've got a list of the companies that are impacted by this. So it's something you may want to have a look at on here. Okay, next item I've got up here for you. How to fix the file type error. Now, this is something that I run into from time to time, usually because we're uploading unnatural files to WordPress. WordPress core has a default set of files that are not allowed to be uploaded through the interface. And I can't remember what those files are. And what are they? Let's see here, they tell you what they are. There you go, you have MIDIs, doc files, things of that nature. There's a lot of different files that are not allowed to be uploaded, but what you can do with this plugin is you can go in there and change the upload file types and add to that default setting to allow you to upload them. And I'm trying to remember what files in the past I've had troubles uploading, because you can always upload zip files, PDFs, PNGs, all picture image files, usually AVI files and other things as such, but there's occasionally a file type you need to upload which isn't allowed. And this is a plugin that will help you out and deal with that issue. And this is one that I'm going to have to get into the WP plugins. Now, the other thing I'm going to do here is I got to go upload or update the notes so that you guys get all the links I'm doing here. And when you look at the notes here are from the backwards forward, from the bottom to the top. So keep that in mind. I'm working backwards up the list. All right. Yes, that's my kids in the background who are so inconsiderate and don't really care that I'm doing a live show.
I know, I saw him.
Okay. Next item up here we've got for you. Setting up security in the WordPress API. Okay, the WordPress REST API has a lot of settings to it. And this is an interesting article from WPMU Dev. They put out a lot of really great information, tidbits, and tips on how you can deal with a lot of things. And this article here will walk you through many of the settings you want to deal with in the REST API. And set it up so that data can't be retrieved, so site data can be retrieved. Just a whole lot of little tweaks in here. Ways to prevent you from mistakenly display content, etc., etc. This is something that you will want to look at. The REST API, while it's a good thing, it's also a security hole.
Yeah, he accepted it.
So make sure you go check this one out. Next we got for you another WordPress plugin that's got a flaw in it. This flaw lets you take over entire sites.
What are you doing?
And it comes from the Simple Social Buttons plugin.
Where are you?
Plugin that's installed on more than 40,000 WordPress websites.
Oh, that's right.
This is a pretty decent plugin. I think I've used this in the past. I can't remember. It's one of those plugins that adds social sharing buttons to your site. And the biggest thing is they have secured it, but you got to make sure you've done the updates. So get in there, do the updates, make sure and check on it. This is a reason to stay on top of the updates for your websites. And try to make a few extra dollars a month by convincing your clients that they should pay you to manage, monitor, and update their websites. So it's good extra money, good solid income. I do it regularly for a fair number of my clients, and this saves them the headache of having to make sure their site is updated and secured and properly backed up, because I do that for them. So that's something to think about from johnoverall.com. WordPress specialist, help you out with quality WordPress hosting. You're looking for a hosting that doesn't slow you down? Check out johnoverall.com hosting. Emergency support? hacked, cracked, white screen, whatever goes on, I can fix it up, and WordPress website maintenance. And of course, I do web development and other miscellaneous things. Here's an interesting article from WP Beginner. This is an article talking about how WordPress became the most popular CMS system in the world. And WordPress itself has done a fair bit since its beginning. I remember in the early years of it, I think I joined into the WordPress world when it was about 3 years old, give or take, 4 years old. 2007? No, 2000. Yeah, 2009. So I guess it was 5 years old. 2009, it was 5. So at any rate, it was still at its very beginnings. We didn't even have custom post types yet when I first started. It was still a lot of work to deal with, and it was a challenge to set everything up. But it worked beautiful for the most part, and it did a lot. So this is what it's talking about: is how they've grown, how it was created, where it came from, how it became the most popular WordPress website. You know, businesses, e-commerce, WooCommerce, you know, management systems, LMS, GamiPress. There's a lot to it. WordPress has grown up quite nicely. Hopefully they can manage to hang on to their lead. As I've said, I'm pretty sure they're losing a large chunk of their community over the next year due to their missteps this last fall and in December, but they'll manage to keep their lead, I think. I think they'll stay the most popular. They just won't be 30% of the market. They might fall back to 25% of the market and hold there.
Oh, shit.
Which will be a shame.
There's one more person, there's not a person.
All right, so what do we got next for you coming up? Okay, let's carry on. Next article I've got for you this week comes from WP Tavern. And this one here is talking about Gutenberg 5.0, adding new RSS block, Amazon Kindle embed block, and focal point picker component. These are some new components and blocks into the Gutenberg editor so that you can deal with different things. The RSS block looks interesting. Add any RSS feed to your website. Focal point picker for the cover of a book is for the cover block. For the cover block. That's another article I got coming up. Difference between a cover image and a featured image. This is kind of a new thing. The cover image is something new to Gutenberg itself. So, and this is control. This focal point picker gives people more control over how the image is cropped, which is going to be a very useful thing, because if you're cropping an image for something, notoriously WordPress has been horrible for cropping images. Just notorious. It's been the most horrendous thing. You had to put in special code, and even then it didn't get you quite what you wanted. But if you got something here that you can pick a focal point for the cropping of the image, this would be really quite cool. So something to think about here. So anyway, that's another nice, useful article to give a good check to.
Oh, the person who's playing Runaway.
Next item up here from WP Lift. This is an article on how to restrict or disable blocks in the WordPress block editor. Now, one of the beautiful things about Gutenberg is blocks. One of the horrible things about Gutenberg is blocks. And the thing that there's so many blocks being created. There's already a segment in the WordPress repository just for block plugins alone. I have yet to start reviewing block plugins because truthfully I have yet to start using Gutenberg full time. I'm still using it part-time here and there, bits and pieces. I have not gone to full-time on any site with Gutenberg. But it will happen, I'm sure. But this is something else. This is the ability to disable Gutenberg blocks with the plugin. And this is going to be a nice thing because you're going to have so many blocks, you're going to need to turn some of them off so that you can limit what blocks are being used on your site. And if you're building for a client, you don't need them to have 25, 50, 200 different blocks to choose from. They'll go insane trying to put something together, put together a page. This is going to be a very needed thing. So this is something you're going to want to look into and deal with if you're gone full-blown Gutenberg. Okay, next up we've got here for you another interesting article. This one here is when should you put ads on your website? In other words, when should you monetize your WordPress website? This is a useful information to know because one of the interesting things, if you put ads on your website too soon when you're building your audience, you could scare them away. Or you could put the ads up, but if you put them up inappropriately or too many, slow down your site, change the experience for people, they might just go bye-bye. I mean, you think about it, it's like, why did Facebook become so popular? Because they had no advertising for the first several years until they had their audience locked down. Then they started with the ads, and then they did them decently for the most part. They're there, but they're not there. It's like most of the time I don't even see the ads, but that's me. So this is the same thing you want to do with your website when you go to monetize it with ads. Now, of course, remember, advertising is never going to be your primary revenue source unless you've got tens of thousands of hits per day. So this is something to keep in mind, but this is a good article to read about when you should go about doing that kind of content. Okay, and the next article I've got for you here is an article from Caldera Forums about Gutenberg for accessibility. And this is about web accessibility and Gutenberg and how to get your website more accessibly compliant. This is a problem with Gutenberg that I know of. I've not tackled it myself, but I understand that they're doing something to see if they can do with it through the Gutenberg project. The Gutenberg Accessibility Project, I think it's called. So this is something to look at and figure out what your website is all about. It's a good article describing a lot of things you should be doing to your site. And finally, I've got here for you an article about the difference between covered images and featured images. And I'll be right back, folks. I gotta take care of something here. All right, sorry, a little side trip there. Oh, had to mute the mic. Okay, final article here. Difference between covered images and featured images in WordPress. And they're talking about WordPress Gutenberg, not just WordPress. Because covered images is a brand new term that I only recently learned about with Gutenberg. And this is talking about how featured images and covered images. Cover images are the top of the content, placed in the content it appears. It's a cover image in the content. And of course, featured images is the image that is displayed everywhere there is a thumbnail. And it used to be used at the top of posts and pages or multiple other sites. Depends on what your theme was up to doing and how it was working. So this is something you'll want to come to grips with and deal with on whatever theme you're working with and how it handles all of this stuff. So that's pretty much everything I've got here today with the list of articles that I've talked about. Some really great information. You know, the show Saturday evening, it's a good wrap up, talks about a lot of things, gets interrupted by my kids, but that's life of being a parent. And I think that's all I've got for you. So we'll just call it a wrap at that, and I'll let my girl take us out of here.
reminders for the show. All the show notes can be found at wppluginsa2z.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the Friday newsletter for more useful information delivered directly to your inbox. WP Plugins A to Z is a show that offers honest and unbiased reviews of plugins created by developers because you support the show. Help keep the show honest and unbiased by going to wppluginsa2z.com/donate and set the donation level that fits your budget. Help us make the show better for you by subscribing and reviewing the show at Stitcher Radio, Google Play, and in the iTunes Store. You can also watch the show live on YouTube, check out the screencasts and training videos, and remember to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications of all new videos. Also, follow the show on Twitter at WPPluginsA2Z. John can be reached at his website at johnoverall.com or send him an email, john@wppro.ca. Thanks for joining us and have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the show. This show is copyright by johnoverall.com. So until next time, have yourselves a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be out there on the globe today.
I hate Sheriff Shaw.
That's all we got now. Take care now. Bye.